Hey, beautiful people. This is your girl, Kiara Shanice. For those of you that are new to my channel, I'm a teacher currently working and living in the country of Kuwait. And for those of you that have been following my channel for a while, welcome back. So today I'm going to be packing up my classroom, but in between packing up my classroom, I'm also going to be sharing with you guys those tips and tricks that I've learned over these last 2-3 years. First year doesn't really count for me because I wasn't living in Kuwait, and that school was like, woo. So yeah, that I'm not even gonna share, but from what I've learned these last 2 years at my current school. So you're probably wondering what you should bring when you come to teach, like what all supplies, materials, and stuff like that. So in Kuwait, they don't sell things like spiral notebooks. They have journals, but not spiral notebooks. They don't have like 3-ring or 3-prong folders or folders like with the pockets. And so the materials are just a little bit different than that I particularly am used to, especially coming from the States. So these are some of the things that I pack with me this year, because I learned from last year that I was gonna need these things, or at least to make me feel comfortable as a teacher. So these are some of the things that I packed. Okay, so I like brands of markers because I like to color and stuff. So I did bring these markers from back home. These are the Crazy Art markers, and they do have markers here, don't get me wrong, they definitely do, but just the brands are different, and I didn't know which brands were going to be good brands, so I decided just to bring my own from home. Because last year what happened was I bought some markers, and not knowing, you know, this being my first year, I didn't know that they didn't have like the regular colors on there. They had like just odd colors like peacock, and like I can't even describe it, but it wasn't like the bright, like the normal primary colors and a little extras. They didn't have those. So this year I ended up getting my own, and I did the same for colored pencils. So I bought these from Walmart, and then I ended up just packing some and ship some over. So that is one of my tips, or whatever you want to call it. I would recommend that if you have any particular supplies that you would like to use, then maybe bring that. It's not necessary per se, because a lot of schools, and most schools, do have supplies and resources for you to use. But if you have particular brands or things that you want to have, and then you're not sure when you're going shopping at the teacher stores, then definitely pack your own, you know, those things you are particular about. Okay, another classroom thing that I learned in Kuwait that wasn't common is this baby right here. And this is an electronic pencil sharpener. So, funny story. Last year when I came, my school collects student money, or student like supply fees, and then us teachers, we take that money and we go shopping. Now this is not something that is done at every school, and I don't know if any other schools really do it. So we were responsible for going and getting the student supplies. So one of the things on the supply list was pencil sharpeners. And I looked high and low, didn't find an electronic one. So these are the ones, and this is customary, just like the little individual ones for students to have in Kuwait. You will see these like literally every school, every grade level. And yeah, so these are what the students are used to using. And one day my Arabic teacher comes in, and she has this pencil sharpener, this electronic pencil sharpener. And I was like, oh my God, you were able to find one. Thank you so much. And she's like, yeah, it's so much better. I'm like, okay, cool. And I plug it in, and I'm using it. And next thing I know, like I turn around and I have like 10 students at my desk. And I'm like, what are y'all doing at my desk? And they're like, Miss, what is that? And I'm like, it's a pencil sharpener. And they're like, oh my God, Miss, it's so cool. Can we use it? Can we use it? And I'm like, it's a pencil sharpener, y'all. What you mean, an electronic pencil sharpener? And like after about 2 minutes, like everybody wanted to use it. I'm like, wait a minute. So I asked the class, and I'm like, have you guys ever seen or used an electronic pencil sharpener? And their eyes were like, no, Miss, no, Wella, no. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was like a learning experience for me, because I was completely oblivious to the fact that some of these kids have never seen or used an electronic pencil sharpener. And so yeah, these are not common items in the classroom. And then this one, it did end up it stopped working. So yeah, we ended up having to go back to the the handheld ones. But yeah. The next thing that I want to share is about classroom decor. So when you come to a new school, start a new job, a lot of times we want to spend a lot of money in decorating and, you know, just making it ours. Now, that's cool and dandy, but in the Middle East, and I've heard this from like friends that work at other schools as well as here in my school, a lot of people, when they decorate, they just print things offline. So for example, I'll show you my voice level chart. So this is my voice level chart, and it has another piece to it as well. And these are literally, they're printed, and then we laminated them and tacked it to the wall. Usually when your company or school flies you over, you only have your standard luggage, and some schools will reimburse you, up to a certain amount for luggage and stuff. So you don't want to be carrying all this unnecessary things. So this is one of the easier ways. And plus, a lot of teachers leave things behind because, again, that luggage and, going to other places and stuff, they don't want to lug all that extra stuff around. So I actually, my predecessor that was in this class, she actually left those for me. I made a couple of other things. She even had these little, because that's a cactus theme. So she had these here. And these are the months where she printed them out in color, just laminated them. And then I made a couple things, like I made my kids' name tags this year. I'm not gonna show the name tags because they have my students' names on them. But I found a cool little cactus print that stuck with the theme, and I just printed those out and laminated them. And it saves so much money. It is a little bit more time consuming per se, but it definitely gets the job done. So here's an example of one of the things that I printed out. These were my table numbers. So I found a super basic pattern and printed it out, and it matched pretty much the decor. So see, so clearly it wasn't exactly the same, but it definitely worked. And now, so that's how I decorated my classroom. It eliminates a lot of the bulk, and then when you finish with these things, you can save them for the next teacher, or you can simply discard of them. And they're super lightweight, so even if you want to take them with you, then you're not lugging a bunch of stuff, or even spend a whole bunch of money and not necessarily needing those things in the long run. Okay, side note. Can we just take a moment to talk about how excited I am for the summer? This year has been so long. This year has been so long, and I am literally I'm thrilled for the summer. So I'm almost done with my classroom. I just have to get these big things moved to the center, wrapped up, and then I'll be just pretty much chilling until it's time for us to go. And so, yeah, but let's get back to the point of the video. Okay, another tip in regards to living and working in Kuwait that's gonna help you not only build rapport with your students, but also gain their respect and their I can't think of the word, but anywho, gain their respect is to learn how to pronounce their names. So I know it should be common sense, but I feel like a lot of times, you take the easy way out and just give the kid a nickname, ask them if they have a nickname. But even in regular society, if somebody has a difficult name, it shouldn't be oh, do you have a nickname? You should actually work to try to correctly pronounce that child's name. Last year, I didn't do this as much, and I think it's the kids kind of made it easy for me because when I came in, they knew that I wasn't from here, that I was from America, And so a lot of my kids, they were like, oh, my name is this, but you can call me that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then like talking with some of the other teachers and things that have been here for years, they actually gave me this trick, and they told me, like, learn their names. And it was like, you'll see a difference in the kids. And so one day last year with my students, I was like, hey, how do you correctly say your name? And they're like, Miss, you can just call me. I'm like, I know I can, but I want to be able to learn how to pronounce your name. And so I went through the class again, and we were like halfway through the year, and I took the time to learn how to pronounce my students' names, and I even gave them permission to be able to correct me. And I think, like, you shouldn't necessarily have to give somebody permission to correct their name, but kids are timid and we're adults, so some kids don't feel comfortable doing that. So I told them, if I mispronounce your name, like, tell me, it's fine, it's okay. And after that, like, just the shift in my classroom was different, and I can't really explain it, but that tidbit took me a very long way. And this year when I started class, it was the same thing. I started off, and I worked really hard to be able to pronounce names. And being over here, like, the names obviously are a lot different than what we are used to in the States. And even the pronunciation, like, for example, the name in the U.S., Abdullah, a lot of people pronounce it Abdullah. Here, the name is pronounced Abdullah. The name Malik in the U.S., we simply pronounce it Malik. Over here, it's not Malik, it's Malik. So there are a lot of differences. And you do have that occasional where it is pronounced like it is in the U.S. So again, you just want to ask and just give students that courtesy. So just taking the time to learn and actually properly pronounce students' names, that will take you a very long way in this. I'm really sorry if it seems like this video is all over the place, but I am also working and trying to get my classroom packed up. So, like my anchor chart? Another thing I would like to share in regards to living, teaching, and working in Kuwait is that there is something called censorship. Now, I know that all countries have censorship in some way, shape, or form, but here in Kuwait, it is very, very strict. And there are certain topics, certain places, certain people, certain events that you cannot, and I mean cannot, discuss in a classroom. I won't necessarily say in just general conversation, it depends on who you're speaking to, but definitely in a classroom, there are some things that are off topic. So when you get to your school, they should, because almost all schools do, go over the censorship guidelines, because as you guys know, things like pork are banned here, alcohol, drugs, like those things are like 100% forbidden. So you cannot discuss those things. And children, as you know, they are inquisitive, they are curious, they want to know. So you'll have times where, like, even with different religions and stuff, my kids always ask me a lot about Christianity and things like that. And I'll tell them, for example, they ask me about going to church. And they're like, oh, why don't you guys go to church on Friday instead of on Sunday? And I'm like, well, in our religion, that's the norm for us to go and celebrate, not celebrate, but go and worship on Sundays. Whereas in you guys' culture, it's on Fridays. And I was like, it's just a cultural difference, and that's how it is. And, we move on the subject. We don't spend too much time going into depth. We don't, depth about it. And, and I always tell them that if they're interested in learning, they need to have that conversation with their parents. And, it's not meant for the classroom, because those things can actually get you deported from the country. So you want to make sure that you're staying within those censorship guidelines. There's certain books that you can't have, certain countries that you're not supposed to show on the on your maps in the classroom. Like, you'll even see that in textbooks, like for like Palestine and for Israel, it's actually grayed out or blacked out in a lot of textbooks and on the map. So you have to refer to it as occupied Palestine. There are like the Arabian Sea. You can't refer to it as the Persian Gulf. Like it's so many things that you just have to be conscious of. And obviously you're gonna make some mistakes, but you gotta try and be mindful of it. So needless to say, censorship is a huge deal here in Kuwait, and you have to vet your resources, books that you read, movies or clips that you show, because all it takes, while social media is exposing kids and stuff to a lot, it's still the religion that's here, and people take their religion here very seriously. So all it takes is you to show one wrong thing and a parent call and complain to the school, or even worse, the ministry, and you could really be looking at getting yourself on the first plane back to your home country. So you have to be very, very careful about those things, and just making sure that you're choosing your resources and looking at the pictures that are posted on things. We want to make sure that the girls that you have in the books or on a worksheet is covered up, and not showing anything, and not even being graphic, but just like in a bathing suit. You don't want to have a picture of a female in a bathing suit. So it's those little things. Now, again, your school should go over those censorship things with you in the censorship guidelines, and it's pretty standard because these are guidelines that are put in place by the Ministry of Education here in Kuwait. So that's usually one of the first things that they're going to go over with you once you start your job. And if they don't, you should definitely ask, so that way you're not put in a situation and you didn't know or weren't aware of what was going on. The next tip that I'm going to give, especially for teaching in a foreign country, whether that be Kuwait or anywhere else, is to create a work-life balance. And when I say that, I mean like you're coming to a new country, you're learning a new culture, the time zone is usually drastically different from what you're used to, you're away from your family. So with that being said, work your contractual hours, but don't overload, because when you go into exhaustion here and you have that burnout, it's a different burnout than being back home, because you're burnt out and you're usually alone. If you haven't already made your friend group, and even still, sometimes just being away from home, like it just settles and it hits a little bit different. And that ties into the other tip is create a circle, like a support system. Network with other teachers from other countries, other places. Ask them how they were able to do certain things, for tips in their classrooms. Like just talk with other people, because everybody has different perspectives and different experiences, and some things you might be able to take from someone else that has gone through a similar experience, or they might be able to give you some tidbits. So really try and network and branch out and use your free time to be able to create those social groups to help you stay afloat. So I've met so many other amazing teachers here, and we have our conversations, and sometimes I'm like, hey, does your school do this, and how do y'all go about doing that? And we bounce things off of each other from time to time. So it's definitely helpful to have that, along with that work-life balance, and just being able to kind of detach from all the stress that this job and being in a foreign country can bring to you. So I know that was kind of all tied in one, but they really do kind of coincide with one another. So I definitely hope that helps. So the very last and probably the most important teaching tip that I can give you is don't call soccer football. Wait, no, sorry. I said that wrong. Don't call football soccer. You don't want to do that. Your kid's going to eat you alive. So, and we have this conversation, obviously this is a joke, but we have this conversation all the time. Like, I'll accidentally call it soccer, and my kid's like, no, miss, no, it's called football. And so, yeah, that's just something extra I want to throw in there. But call it what you want, you know, to each their own. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it helpful, and make sure you stay tuned for the next one.